The main reason I'm so excited is because the guy alongside me here, Alex Baker, Awesemo, the number one player in the world, had his very first Millie Maker win yesterday. Congratulations, Alex. How are you feeling today, my guy?
Thanks, man. Feeling good. I was like, at the start of the year, I'm like, I've done a lot of what I want to do in DFS, but the one thing I haven't done is win a million dollar first prize. So, like, now that I got that out of the way, it's like, okay, now I can just chill.
So what's next? Oh, I was going to say, what's next now? Like, how do you set the bar even higher? What's next on the agenda?
I don't know, man. I might have to wait until I sober up a little bit to figure that
So you had a little bit of fun last night. I was going to say, so you hit the Millie. Talk us through your evening last night as you're kind of processing it.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I told my wife she was out with a friend, and I was like, I think this might be a big night. Like, maybe we should go out. The problem was we had already ordered delivery of pizza, so we ended up just staying home and eating pizza. Had a bottle of champagne, so it was pretty fun.
That sounds like a good night, Alex. Well, I'm excited to be going through this lineup. I mean, I've had Adam Scherer on here after 100K days. I've never been over here analyzing $1 million day here on a Monday. Everybody hit that like for Alex because, again, absolute smash. So happy for you. He's got the name on the door. So, like, legitimately, this is excellent for everybody involved. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're just stopping by. We're going to dig into it right off the bat because I don't think we can waste any more time. I just love this lineup and kind of the adjustments for things. We're going to go through all of it. But right off the bat, this was the $4.5 million main event millionaire maker, 1 million to first. So obviously very, very top heavy. Very nice to be finishing first in such a tournament. And you had 25 entries in this one. So I went through some of your exposures here this morning. We had Sony Michel, 92%, 80% David Montgomery, 64% Braxton Berrios. Those are three of the chalkier plays. And you took very, very overweight approaches in this tournament. Again, we are looking at 2,267 total entries. This is a smaller field tournament compared to the 170,000 entries you're going to be seeing in a regular Millie Maker. How does that change your approach for lineup building?
So, I mean, this one was like one of their biggest tournaments of the year, and like I wasn't able to max enter it because that would have been like, okay, so it's like 75 times $2,222. Like, I don't even want to know how much it is. So,
I did the math if you want to know.
yeah, what hit us with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I plugged in. Ryan said that it was like 15 entries yesterday, so it's just a little over 200K.
200K. Okay.
Yeah,
That's too rich for my blood.
yeah,
But yeah, I was like, since I'm putting in more than I do in an average NFL weekend, I wanted to like kind of spread it out among more stacks. So I limited myself to five of each quarterback at most. So I was getting a ton of Mac Jones. I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I limited him to like three. And I was like more worried about the stacks than the individual players. So like Sony Michel, I didn't know I had 90%, but I did like him because it was like the Rams had a rough day and he still got almost 20 points. So that was close to a lock. It just didn't come through
yeah.
yesterday.
And here's the thing. Obviously, you had the one lineup that ended up taking it down that didn't have him, and we'll get to that exact pivot here. But I just did the math here once again. I think I had put in the wrong number before, but 55,000 was the total number. So for the 25 entries,
Well,
pretty
yeah, I
good
mean,
ROI, I would say, Alex. Pretty good ROI.
yeah, I wasn't one of those max century guys, so it was nice that some of us non-max guys were able to take it down.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but we're going to keep it going. But I absolutely love this lineup. And of course, everybody talked yesterday about the explosion spot that was Jamar Chase in that early window of games. And you're sitting there with Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Rashad Penny. Was that a stack that you had already landed on before Jamar Chase went on? And what kind of adjustments, if any, did you make to regard a 50-point burger that you got out of Chase in the early window?
Yeah, essentially, when I didn't have any lineups with Chase, I was like, okay, I'm dead. Like, time to move on. Afternoon slate. I was watching Afternoon Live before lock, trying to get an extra edge. So, uh, I think I mean, I like Seattle a lot. Like everyone was off them, like, but they like because they've been doing horrible in the past few months. But I kind of had looked at that data. It was weird because the play volume was so low. Like Seattle would run like 50 offensive snaps on some days, and that's not like a result of a team being bad. It's just like really fluky. And also getting a lot of 3-and-outs. But then they were matched up against the Lions, one of the best teams in football, and I'm like, this is going to be a shootout. Nah, just kidding. But I think on our top stacks, I actually did a lineup building video for DraftKings, and my contrarian quarterback was Russell Wilson. And the reason why, like, the ownership was super low, 2.6%, we hadn't projected, and 4% chance of being in the top stack. And I also like the skill players. So you had Lockett and Metcalf, either of which are liable to have a huge week. Gerald Everett, like no tight end really stood out a ton yesterday. So that was a good option. And Rashad Penny kind of leading the charge for the running backs in Seattle. And I was like, they got a 26 point total and no one's on them. That's perfect.
Yeah, I think that obviously was a great idea. 1.7% ownership on Russell Wilson here in this spot. That ended up being gigantic when you can pair him up with Metcalf and Lockett. Becomes pretty easy to hit a lot of pieces of the lineup. If it all goes off, you're taking all of the upside with you. Tyler Lockett didn't get there, but the one play that is just so fascinating that I want to get your take on, and I think this speaks more to the small field nature of it rather than maybe a large field nature. Your decision to play Rashad Penny along with the rest of that stack. So you had the double along with Rashad Penny as the running back. So in essence, a triple here for Seattle with the run back of Amon-Ra St. Brown, which at 3.6%, he's just been smashing week in, week out. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. A fantastic run back option there. What was your decision making to play Penny with all the other players in that lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I do sacks with 3 skill players a lot with quarterback because, like, what you find in some NFL games is one team just dominates the time of possession and number of plays, and that happened yesterday. The Lions had a ton of turnovers and whatnot. Still enough to get Amon-Ra St. Brown there. He got a couple touchdowns, so that was pretty lucky, but the general idea is they throw a few touchdowns and then they get a lot of rushing attempts after that. So the running back plus stack is something that I'm looking at a decent amount.
Yeah, what's so fascinating about this lineup and why it's so good, even in a small field tournament, every single player besides David Montgomery is sub 10%. You had all the upside. If somebody's scoring a touchdown from Seattle, unless it's Gerald Everett, you've pretty much got it covered. So you did. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett getting 3 and 1 respectively there, getting another 2 from Rashad Penny, 5 touchdowns along with your quarterback getting most of those. Fantastic lineup, really, really well put together. Saints defense, kind of the number that you landed on. Was there any kind of a decision you made? Because I definitely see a ton of different defenses in your exposures. You've got Bears, Titans, Giants, Washington football team, the Saints. There were 2 shares that you had of the Saints. Was that just simply where it was a number you landed on and you liked the spot for them?
To be honest, I mean, I'm not really putting a ton of thought into the defenses. Yeah. I'm just kind of making my lineups, fantasy cruncher, and then whatever I get defense. Like, obviously I want to have a little bit more of the good defenses, and the Saints they're the second most popular defense in our ownership projections, and also the second highest chance of being the optimal lineup. So one of the top defenses, and that made sense because my lineup was pretty contrarian and I didn't really need to get off the board.
Yeah, speaking also to the contrarian nature of it, Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson. I had to remember his name there for a second because that's just kind of how it goes with Antonio Gibson. With him sidelined here in this spot, there were definitely some touches to be had there against a Philadelphia defense that's been porous from time to time. Falling into Patterson definitely was a huge difference maker. Gave you a little bit cheaper price point to be able to afford the double stack there, to be able to get all of the upside from that Seattle team. Getting Patterson into a lineup here, I believe you had a number of shares of him in this tournament. What did you really like about that play coming into Sunday?
I think it was the ownership, really. Like with no Antonio Gibson, I thought it was going to be a mix of Patterson and Jonathan Williams. I think Patterson ended up playing a lot more than I was expecting because he got a few receptions, and that was not something I was really thinking was in his bag of tricks. But that was just kind of luck you need to get to win one of these. So I thought he was kind of off the board, a guy that no one really knows who he is because he hasn't really started a game before, and it worked out because I got lucky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, everybody needs a little bit of luck from time to time, but I will say he still was a fantastic play in the boom bust tool, which is pretty clear to see 4.3% projected ownership in like a larger field millie, 6.8% optimal percentage, though. It's a pretty large optimal percentage. You have fewer lineups to beat here in this spot. You're getting paid off, positive leverage to be had at the running back spot, which, if somebody ends up getting the full backfield, you don't necessarily know what that situation is going to look like. And embracing that unknown in a smaller field tournament, I mean, that was such a difference maker, I think, for your lineup, just to be able to afford some of the bigger pieces that you needed to get to. Obviously, the Tyler Higbee punt, 12.9 was more than serviceable to give you extra salary there. I mean, everything about this lineup just is fantastic. And for everybody that was out there saying, oh, well, I don't have Ja'Marr Chase, I need to quit or not build lineups or not care about whatever, you definitely put a lot of thought into this one, and it ended up coming to fruition. So congratulations here to Alex Baker. Anything else you would like to add before we kind of transfer over to the slant?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I guess the only thing I'd say is it's not like I did something different last week. I did the same process I've been using all season long, and it hadn't really paid off in the main slates like most of the year. So it's just you gotta kind of use some general intuition to know is the strategy you're using good, and have you been getting unlucky, or do you want to mix things up? And I think with Russell Wilson, most people probably gave up at this point, but it's where you gotta kind of use your brain instead of relying too much on what's happened this season.
Yeah, I told Jordan Klein this would be the week that he would go nuts because it was the first week I didn't play him.
Oh no!
Absolutely happened. I said it. I knew it was going to happen there at that point. And this is probably the week at the lowest ownership. You're buying in as low as you possibly can. Again, sub 2% in this tournament. Just a fantastic play, no doubt about it. Against a team that you definitely would expect. You can have some opportunities to score. But again, the total cumulative ownership here, 65.7%. That is the lowest out of all of your 25 lineups, and it is the one that gets to the top. So, hey, contrarian, make sure you play your plays. Make sure you find ways to get different, no matter the field size here. Everything about it, just excellent. Go ahead.
One point on that is that the ownership of contrarian players in these smaller field tournaments is lower. The ownership on the good plays is higher. So I'm sure if this was in a different tournament, the ownership some wouldn't have been that insanely low.
Right, because it's less of a people are playing a lot more of the chalk. The chalk is more condensed in a smaller field, correct? It's just a lot higher number.
Yeah, most people in these above $100 tournaments are using projections to make their lineup, so they're pretty predictable. And obviously we have good projections, so we know kind of what the possible pivots are and what everyone's going to be doing most likely. So that helps a lot.